All right, welcome to the deep dive. Today we're going to be looking at the world of property insurance underwriting,
Sounds fun.
and specifically how to ace that interview.
Yes.
And to help us out, we've got some really amazing resources from RoleCatcher.
Really good resources.
We've got their Property Insurance Underwriter Career Guide and their Interview Guide.
Excellent guides.
And we'll also be taking a look at how RoleCatcher's AI platform can really give you a leg up in your interview prep.
Yeah, that AI is really something else.
For sure.
It's really cool how it helps you kind of like tailor your answers to the specific job you're going for
Yeah.
and the company and all that.
Exactly. So before we jump into the interview questions,
Yeah.
let's set the stage a little bit.
Yeah.
What exactly does a property insurance underwriter do?
So the career guide defines it as someone who analyzes insurance applications.
Mm-hmm.
They assess the risks associated with insuring specific properties,
Okay.
and they determine the appropriate premiums and coverage.
That makes sense.
They're kind of like detectives of property.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah, meticulously evaluating every little detail to figure out how much risk is involved.
I like that a lot.
Yeah.
A detective of property.
Yeah.
That's a great way to think about it.
Yeah.
The guide also mentions that they play a crucial role in protecting both the insurance company and the insured.
Right.
So it's a delicate balancing act.
It really is. They need to make sure the insurance company remains profitable
Right.
by accurately assessing risk and setting the right premiums.
Makes sense.
But they also need to give enough coverage to protect policyholders from potential losses.
Okay, so with that understanding in mind, let's jump into the hot seat. The RoleCatcher Interview Guide has a ton of really interesting questions.
It really does.
We've picked out some of the most challenging ones
Yes.
to help you really prepare.
So practice makes perfect.
Yes.
The more you familiarize yourself with these questions and you think through your responses,
Yeah,
the better you're going to feel during the actual interview.
absolutely. Okay, first up, a classic opener. What inspired you to become a property insurance underwriter?
Ooh, that's a good one.
How should our listener approach this question?
This is your chance to share your story. You know what sparked your interest in this field? The key is to be genuine
Right.
and be specific. You want to avoid those generic answers like, I'm interested in the insurance industry.
Right.
Instead, think about an event, an experience, even a person that made you choose this path.
So, for example, if our listener was impacted by a natural disaster
Yeah.
and saw firsthand how property insurance helped people rebuild their lives,
Exactly.
that would be a really powerful story to share.
Yeah, it shows a personal connection to the field. It shows the interviewer that you're not just in it for a job title.
I see.
You could also talk about skills or experiences that you have that make you a good fit for the role.
Okay. And I imagine the interviewer might follow up with, why this company?
Yeah, definitely be prepared to connect your motivations to the company. Do your research beforehand. What are their values? What's their mission? What are they known for? Find something that really resonates with you
Yeah.
and highlight how your goals align with theirs.
Okay, let's move on to a question that's a bit more technical.
Yeah.
Can you walk me through your process for assessing risk?
All right, so this question is all about those analytical skills
Okay.
and your understanding of the underwriting process. The interviewer wants to see how you approach a problem, how you gather information,
Mm-hmm.
and how you make those decisions.
So should our listener break down their process step by step?
Exactly.
Like a recipe?
Yeah, like a recipe. You can start by explaining how you gather info about the property,
Okay.
location, construction type, age, any previous claims history.
Gotcha.
Then you talk about the factors you'd consider: proximity to natural hazards, the quality of the construction materials,
Mm-hmm.
the security measures in place.
It's almost like painting a picture for the interviewer,
Yeah,
so they can really visualize you on the job.
exactly. You're evaluating every little detail. And don't be afraid to get specific.
Oh, yeah.
Mention any software or tools you use to analyze data or any industry standards that you adhere to.
Yeah, that shows that you're really familiar with the technical aspects of the job
Right.
and that you take a very systematic approach to risk assessment.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm curious, what kind of follow-up questions might the interviewer ask?
So they might ask you to describe a time when you had to assess the risk of a particularly difficult property.
Okay.
Or they might give you a hypothetical scenario
Oh, interesting.
and ask you to walk them through your thought process.
Okay, so our listeners should be prepared to think on their feet
Yeah,
and apply their knowledge to real-world situations.
exactly.
All right, let's tackle another question that often comes up. How do you handle difficult or complex underwriting decisions?
Oh, this one is designed to assess your judgment, your problem-solving skills, and your ability to handle pressure.
Mm.
The interviewer wants to see that you can think critically, weigh different options, and make good decisions even when things are tough.
So how can our listener demonstrate those qualities?
First, you want to emphasize your commitment to getting all the necessary information
Yeah.
before making a decision. You might say something like, I believe in making informed decisions. So I always start by thoroughly reviewing all the available data,
Okay.
including property inspections, financial statements, and any relevant industry reports.
So you're not rushing into judgments.
Nope.
You're taking a meticulous approach.
Exactly. Then you can talk about how you would consult with colleagues or industry experts if needed,
Yeah.
especially when you're dealing with something really complex or a little ambiguous.
Right.
Highlighting your willingness to seek guidance shows humility and a commitment to collaboration.
That's a good point. And I imagine sharing a specific example would be really impactful here.
Yeah,
Like
definitely.
a time when you had to make a tough decision and how you navigated that whole process.
For sure, choose an example that shows off your ability to analyze a complex situation. Consider different perspectives and ultimately make a decision that balanced risk and profitability
Right.
while still following all the applicable regulations.
Okay. And this is where RoleCatcher's AI can come in handy.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Right.
RoleCatcher's AI can look at your practice answers
Mhm.
and give you feedback on how to refine your wording and structure. It can even suggest relevant examples from your work history.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, you can weave into your responses.
So it's like having a personal interview coach in your pocket.
It really is.
Oh.
It helps you tailor those answers to the specific job and company you're going for.
Love that.
Yeah.
Okay, let's delve into another question that often stumps candidates. What are your salary expectations?
Ah, yes. This one makes a lot of people nervous,
For sure.
but it's important to approach it strategically.
Okay.
Be prepared with a salary range that is both realistic and aligned with your experience and qualifications.
So how can our listener determine that range?
Research.
Right.
Look at industry salary surveys, websites like Glassdoor or salary.com. Talk to people in your network who know about compensation trends in this field.
So don't just throw out a number off the top of your head.
No.
Do your homework.
Exactly. And location plays a big role in salary expectations as well.
Of course.
Salaries can be very different depending on where you are.
Right. The cost of living.
Exactly. So be sure to factor that into your research.
Okay, so our listener has a salary range in mind, but how should they actually phrase their answer?
You want to be clear, concise, and confident.
Okay.
You might say something like, based on my research and experience, I'm targeting a salary range of insert range here.
Uh-huh.
However, I'm also open to discussing the full compensation package and benefits.
I like that approach.
Yeah.
It shows that you've done your research,
Right.
but you're also open to negotiation
Yes.
and considering the bigger picture.
Exactly. And remember, if the interviewer pushes you for a specific number, it's perfectly acceptable to repeat your range
Okay.
and say, I'm comfortable discussing this further once we've had a chance to talk more about the role and responsibilities.
Yeah, that's a great tip. All right, let's shift gears to a question that focuses on your strengths. What do you consider to be your greatest strength as a property insurance underwriter? What's the best way to approach this one?
It's tempting to just list a bunch of positive qualities,
Yeah.
but the key is to choose a strength that is both genuine and relevant to the role.
So, for example, if our listener is incredibly detail-oriented,
Uh-huh.
that would be a really valuable strength to highlight.
Absolutely. Attention to detail is crucial in underwriting.
Yeah.
But don't just state it. Back it up with a specific example.
So instead of saying, I'm detail-oriented,
Yeah.
our listener could say something like, my meticulous attention to detail allowed me to spot a discrepancy in a property's insurance application, which potentially saved the company from significant losses.
That's a perfect example.
Wow.
It brings your strength to life, and it shows the interviewer how you've applied it in the real world.
Yeah, and this is another spot where RoleCatcher's AI can be really helpful. It can analyze your answer and suggest ways to make it even stronger, maybe by providing more context or highlighting the outcome of your actions.
Exactly. It's like having a personal editor for your interview responses.
I love that. Okay, let's tackle one more question before we move on to part 2 of this deep dive. How do you stay up to date with changes in the insurance industry?
Oh, this one is all about demonstrating your commitment to continuous learning
Okay.
and your passion for staying ahead of the curve. The insurance industry is always changing. There are always new regulations, new technologies, and new risk factors popping up.
Right. So how can our listener showcase their commitment to staying informed?
Highlight any professional development activities you do.
Okay.
Attending industry conferences, taking online courses, earning certifications.
Speaking of certifications, the career guide mentions the CPCU
Yes,
as a really valuable credential.
it is. It shows a deep understanding of the industry and a commitment to being the best you can be.
Yeah.
It can also open doors to moving up in your career.
So our listeners should definitely mention any certifications they have or are working towards.
Yes, definitely. What else can they highlight?
Yeah.
Talk about industry publications you read, like trade magazines or online journals.
Okay.
And if you're involved in any professional organizations like the National Underwriter Company or the American Association of Insurance Services, mention that too.
It shows that you're really plugged into the industry
Right.
and that you're invested in your growth.
Exactly.
Mm.
And remember, the key is to be specific and genuine.
Yes.
Don't just rattle off a list. Explain why you do those things and how they help your work.
All right, we've covered a lot of ground in this first part of our deep dive. We've explored the role of a property insurance underwriter.
Yes, we have.
We dissected some pretty challenging interview questions.
We did.
And we even tapped into the power of RoleCatcher's AI to help you prepare
Like a pro.
like a pro.
Yeah.
But there's more to come.
There is.
So stay tuned.
Yes, stay tuned. We've got lots more to cover.
We'll be back with part 2 very soon
Very soon.
to continue our journey.
Our interview prep journey. All right, welcome back.
We're back.
Let's jump right back into preparing for your property insurance underwriter interview.
Okay, sounds good.
Remember, the more prepared you are,
Hmm.
the more confident you'll feel walking into that interview room.
Absolutely. We left off talking about staying up to date
Yes.
with the always changing world of insurance.
It's constantly changing.
But let's get back into those tricky interview questions.
Okay, let's do it.
The next one from the RoleCatcher Interview Guide is, can you describe a time you had to deal with a difficult client or situation? How did you handle it?
Oh, the dreaded tell me about a time you failed question.
Yeah.
Don't worry, everyone has these stories.
For sure.
The interviewer's not trying to trick you. They want to see how you handle challenges, learn from your mistakes,
Right.
and use those lessons in the future.
Okay, so how should our listener pick a situation to talk about?
Choose a time where you had a real challenge, ideally one that's related to being an underwriter.
Okay.
Maybe you had a client who was unhappy with their coverage,
Mm-hmm.
or a complicated claim that needed a lot of back and forth.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So,
What's important to emphasize when describing the situation?
focus on what you did to resolve the issue. Did you stay calm and professional?
Okay.
Did you really listen to what the client was concerned about?
Right.
Did you take the initiative to find a solution?
Makes sense.
Be specific about the steps you took and how you communicated.
And don't forget about the outcome.
Right, even if it wasn't perfect.
Right.
Explain what you learned and how you'd use that knowledge in similar situations in the future.
It's all about showing you can grow
Exactly.
and that you have a positive attitude.
You got it.
Okay, the next question from the interview guide is, what are some of the biggest challenges facing the property insurance industry today? This one feels like it requires some industry knowledge.
It does. But the career guide actually gives us some helpful insights here.
Okay.
It talks about things like climate change, cybersecurity risks, and how property values are getting more and more complex.
Okay, so our listener could mention those topics
Yeah.
to show they've done their research.
Right.
But how can they go a little deeper than just listing those challenges?
They could talk about how those challenges might specifically impact being an underwriter.
I see.
For example, they could say, with climate change leading to more natural disasters, underwriters need to be extra careful in assessing risk and setting the right premiums.
Okay, so it's about showing they see the big picture
Yes,
and how those challenges translate into real-world stuff for underwriters.
exactly. What about cybersecurity risks? How would that play into the role?
That's a good question.
As more homes and businesses rely on smart technology, underwriters need to think about the risk of cyber attacks and data breaches.
Right.
They might have to consider things like how strong the property's cybersecurity systems are,
Okay.
or how much money a data breach could cost.
So our listener could say something like, cybersecurity is becoming a really big deal in underwriting. We need to understand the potential risks and weaknesses that come with things like smart devices and smart home tech.
Perfect. It shows they're aware of the latest trends and how they might affect underwriting.
All right, let's move on to another question from the interview guide. How do you prioritize your work when you have multiple deadlines and competing priorities? This one feels very relevant to the fast-paced world of insurance.
It really is. Underwriters are always juggling multiple tasks and deadlines,
Right.
so you need to show strong organizational and time management skills.
Okay, so how can our listeners showcase those skills?
They could talk about their process for prioritizing things,
Okay.
maybe using a system like the Eisenhower matrix, where they put tasks into categories based on how urgent and important they are.
Mm-hmm.
They can also mention any tools they use to stay organized, like to-do lists, calendars, project management software.
And a specific example would be helpful here, right?
Yes, definitely.
Like a time when they successfully handle a bunch of deadlines.
Exactly. Choose an example that shows you can prioritize, stay organized, and get things done, even under pressure.
Right.
You could say something like, in my previous role, I was always managing multiple underwriting projects at once.
No.
To stay organized, I used a project management tool to keep track of deadlines and progress.
Mm-hmm.
I also made sure to communicate regularly with everyone involved to make sure we were all on the same page.
So you're painting a picture of someone who's proactive and organized
Exactly.
and can handle a demanding workload.
Exactly. Now let's talk about practicing your delivery.
Yes.
It's not just what you say, but how you say it. Confidence, clarity, and enthusiasm can make all the difference.
And this is where RoleCatcher's AI can be really helpful.
It can.
It's not just about having the right answer.
Right.
It can help you actually practice saying those answers well.
Yeah. RoleCatcher's AI has this cool feature.
Tell me about it.
You can record yourself answering practice questions. And then the AI looks at your video and gives you feedback on how you're doing. It looks at things like your tone of voice, your pacing, your body language,
Wow.
even your eye contact.
So it's like having a coach evaluating your every move.
Pretty much. It can help you see where you can improve. Maybe you're talking too fast or not making enough eye contact.
Mhm.
The AI gives you specific suggestions on how to get better and project confidence.
I love that. It takes the guesswork out of practicing,
Yeah,
and it helps you focus on the areas where you can really make a difference.
exactly. Let's get back to the interview questions. The next one from the RoleCatcher interview guide is, what questions do you have for me?
Ooh, this is an important one.
It is. Asking good questions at the end of an interview shows that you're engaged, curious, and interested in the job.
So what kind of questions should our listener ask?
Avoid things that you could easily find on Google.
Okay.
Instead, focus on questions that show you understand the role, the company, and the industry.
Can you give us some examples?
Sure. You could ask about the company's culture, how they approach professional development,
Right.
or their plans for growth in the property insurance market. You could also ask about the specific challenges and opportunities that come with this role.
So it's about showing you've done your homework
Yes,
and that you're thinking critically about this job.
exactly. What about questions about the team or the work environment?
Yeah, those are good ones too.
You could ask about the team dynamic, the management style, or the chances to collaborate. For example, you could say, what's the team culture like? Do you encourage people to work together and share knowledge?
Or something like, what opportunities are there for me to learn and grow within the company?
Exactly. Asking good questions not only gives you valuable information,
Right.
but it also leaves a good impression on the interviewer. It shows that you're proactive, engaged, and genuinely interested in being part of the team.
Okay, we've covered a lot of ground again in this part of our deep dive.
We have.
We tackled more tough interview questions. We discussed how important it is to practice how you deliver your answers.
Yes.
And we even explored how RoleCatcher's AI can help you fine-tune your responses and feel more confident.
Exactly. But there's still more to come.
There is.
Join us for the last part of this deep dive as we finish up our interview prep journey and give you some final thoughts to help you ace that interview.
All right, welcome back to the final part of our deep dive into how to prepare for your property insurance underwriter interview.
We've covered a lot,
We have.
from understanding what the job is all about
Right.
to tackling some of those really tricky questions.
Yes.
And even using the power of AI
Mhm.
to help you practice.
Yes. So let's wrap things up with a few final insights, and then we'll look at how RoleCatcher can help you tailor your answers
Okay.
to specific companies and roles.
Sounds good.
Let's start with another question from the RoleCatcher interview guide.
Okay.
This one asks, how do you stay informed about changes in the insurance industry?
This is your chance to show how dedicated you are to continuous learning and professional development.
Right.
The insurance world is always changing, so it's super important to stay ahead of the game.
Right. So our listener should highlight any professional development activities they do, like Attending industry conferences, taking online courses, earning certifications.
Exactly. Be specific. Tell them about the conferences you've been to, the courses you've taken,
Right.
the certifications you have or are working towards.
The career guide specifically mentions the CPCU as a really valuable credential
It is.
for property insurance underwriters.
It shows you really understand the ins and outs of the industry and that you're committed to being the best.
Right.
And it can open doors to better job opportunities down the road.
Okay, so our listeners should definitely mention any relevant certifications.
For sure. What else can they highlight?
Yeah, what else?
Talk about industry publications you read,
Okay.
like trade magazines or online journals. Are you subscribed to any? Do you follow thought leaders or industry experts on social media?
It's important to show that they're actively engaged
Yes.
in the industry and really invested in their professional growth.
Exactly. Being a member of professional organizations
Okay.
like the National Underwriter Company or the American Association of Insurance Services,
Right.
that shows you're committed to staying connected and informed.
Okay, now let's shift gears a bit and talk about how RoleCatcher's AI
Okay.
can help our listener tailor their answers
Okay.
for specific companies and roles.
That's super important when you're prepping for an interview.
Right.
Every company has its own culture, its own values.
Yeah.
Every role has its own responsibilities and things they're looking for.
Okay, so how does RoleCatcher's AI help with all of this?
RoleCatcher's AI is really cool.
Okay.
It looks at job descriptions and company websites,
Uh-huh.
and it finds those keywords and phrases
Yeah.
that are important to that specific company and job.
So it's like having a research assistant
It is.
that goes through all that information for you
Exactly.
and highlights the most important points.
It takes all the guesswork out of it,
Okay.
trying to figure out what the interviewer wants to hear.
Okay.
By using RoleCatcher's AI, you can make sure your answers match
Right.
the specific needs and expectations of the company and the job you're interviewing for.
It's like having a secret weapon
Kind of.
that gives you an edge over other candidates.
Yeah.
Okay, now, before we wrap up, I want to go back to the career guide for a minute.
Okay.
It has some great insights into the career path
It does.
and potential growth opportunities
Yes.
for property insurance underwriters.
It outlines a clear progression
Okay.
from those entry-level positions to senior underwriter roles,
Mm-hmm.
highlighting what skills and experience you need at each level.
And it mentions that underwriters can specialize
Right.
in different types of property insurance.
Yes, like residential, commercial, industrial.
Okay.
Specializing lets you become an expert
Yeah.
in a particular area,
Mm-hmm.
and it can lead to some really interesting career opportunities.
So as our listeners preparing for their interview, they should think about their long-term career goals
Absolutely.
and how those goals might fit with different specialization paths.
Understanding those different career paths can help them talk about their aspirations
Yeah.
and show a real interest in the field.
Okay, I think we've covered everything we set out to do in this deep dive.
I think so too.
We explored the role of a property insurance underwriter.
Yes.
We broke down those challenging interview questions,
Mm-hmm.
and we even learned how to use the power of RoleCatcher's AI to help you prepare like a pro.
Remember, confidence is key.
Yes.
The more you understand the role,
Yeah,
the more you research the company,
right.
the more you practice your answers, the more prepared and empowered you'll feel.
And ready to shine.
Ready to shine.
And don't forget to use those resources that are out there,
Yeah.
like the RoleCatcher Career Guide, the Interview Guide, and of course their AI-powered platform.
Those are great resources.
These tools can really help you refine your answers, practice your delivery, and ultimately increase your chances
Absolutely.
of landing your dream job
Yes.
in the exciting world of property insurance.
Good luck with your interview and your future career.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
Yes. Thanks for listening.
Until next time, keep learning, keep growing,
Yes.
and keep diving deep into the world of knowledge.